Welcome, Reds, to the 100% United podcast. What a weekend again to be a Manchester United fan. 3-2 winners after trailing to Southampton. That's 12 unbeaten in the Premier League under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We're back in fourth spot and all set for another massive week. I'm your host, TC, and here's my co-host, Scott. Hi, Scott.
Hi, TC. Hi, Reds.
On today's show, we'll be reviewing that incredible match against Southampton. We'll discuss all the other Premier League games of interest to us Reds and where the results leave Manchester United going into the run-in. Then finally, we look ahead to Wednesday's mouth-watering do-or-die clash with Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League last 16. But there's only one place to start. Old Trafford, Saturday afternoon. Big Romelu Lukaku steps up to fire United to a comeback win. It's like we've all jumped in a time machine and we're back in the Fergie years again. Let's get stuck in, Scott. How good did that feel?
Oh, it felt great, mate. I think you just touched on it. It felt like the old days. Felt like this never say die attitude was back, and positivity was just streaming out of it. All 75,000 fans who packed into Old Trafford. It's like the good days are back, mate.
It was indeed, Scott. It really was. And there in the last 5 minutes, I mean, I had full belief that we were going to pull something out of the hat, which is something that has not been the case over the last few years necessarily. Massive performance by Romelu Lukaku in the end as well, mate.
He had a few chances in the first few minutes, and the old Romelu, the last few months, he would have let those chances go to his head and would have been, in and out of the game after that. But he really stuck with it, and he was, in the end of the day, he was a match winner, so he was great.
He was, and of those two chances early on, what I say is the first one, it was a half chance. He created it himself. Got it away. It was a good save from the keeper. The second one, it was a gilt-edged chance. He really should have scored that just before the 5-minute mark. But like you said, he kept his composure. He kept working, kept knocking at the door, kept on going, and in the end got his reward.
Same as last game, to be honest with you. He missed a big chance in the first 5 minutes, and he just didn't let it go to his head, and he kept plugging away, and you can just hear this is what Ollie's trying to drum into him, right? Like strikers, you can't score every chance. You're going to miss a chance here and there, but you can't let it get to you. You got to keep your head up, keep your positivity. Whereas before, I think we were managed by someone who would focus on the negatives and focus on the missed chances instead of saying, you can do it, keep going. And the celebration said it all: the relief, the passion, and the love that he shows for Manchester United with a 15-yard knee slide and screaming into the Stretford end. He can't celebrate any better in my eyes.
Yeah, I totally concur, Scott. And it's 4-2 for Lukaku. So back-to-back braces. Yeah. 3 with his right foot as well. Has Ollie been training that up, do you think?
You'd like to think so. I remember Ollie's main tactic was trying to get between the keeper's legs, and it looks like Romelo's just hitting the side netting with his right foot. And it was funny, the last episode I was saying is a somewhat weaker side, and here he is scoring 2 again with his right foot.
Yeah, and 2 of the 4 outside the box as well.
Yeah, great to see.
What I would say, Scott, is that sometimes I forget the old Lukaku, the young Lukaku with the dreadlocks playing for West Brom. He was a very different player. He was much more dynamic. At Old Trafford, we've seen sort of under Mourinho a bit more of sort of a stiff Lukaku. Whereas now I'm seeing shades of that old Lukaku, which I really loved actually, I must say. Takes people on a bit more, creates space for himself much more easily than in the Mourinho years. You seeing the same thing, Scott?
I have to agree with you. I think he's trying to get involved in team play a bit more. He's trying to get involved in the build-up as opposed to just being the last line of attack. And it's good to see. I remember when we had Javier Hernandez. He was so great at holding the ball up for such a small guy and getting everyone else involved. And I think Lukaku's his first touch isn't the best, but it's good when it needs to be. His first touch for the first goal was as good as it could possibly be, in my opinion. And I just think he's trying to get involved in the team play a lot more than just trying to be the last line and try and score goals, and it's benefiting everybody.
Yeah, it is, and I also like what Ollie did just around the half-hour mark. Obviously, Lukaku had a little bit of a tricky start, if you like, and he moved him out to the right wing for the last 15 minutes of the first half, and it gave Lukaku a chance to get on the ball, take some people on, have the ball at his feet without having 2 centre-backs on him like he does when he's playing a number 9. And I kind of think that was a very clever thing of Ollie to do. Freed Lukaku up, took the pressure off him for 15 minutes. And then, after half-time, popped Lukaku back in the middle 7 minutes later and we start scoring. So I love those little intricacies from Ollie. I think he understands the peaks and troughs of a player's confidence. And instead of like Mourinho trying to batter it out of them, he tries to help them. He tries to help them through their lack of confidence, which to me makes sense. I mean, why would you want to bring down your own players?
Well, I think you can actually see from Ollie's playing career, he scored a lot of goals from the left side of the front two or the right side of the front two, and then there was a big period that he was playing on the right wing as well and always cutting in, and defenders just don't know what to do. They're trying to man mark their attackers, and before you know it, the guy who you were just marking, he's over on the other side, and you got Rashford coming at you, which is a very different animal coming at you, and it creates a lot of panic on the defender's side and a bit more fluidity. And I think he does a great job out there on the right-hand side. He takes players on. He's a good overlapping player. He's managed to hold the ball up well for Ashley Young to be able to overlap him and whip something good in. Or he can cut in on his left foot and open the channels up to play some good passes. I mean, a few weeks ago at Liverpool, probably our best chance, Jesse Lingard's chance, came from a really good Lukaku pass when he was coming in from the right. He offers something very different. He's almost like a wide target man over there. He gets the ball, he holds it up a bit, allows overlapping, and allows players to get in the middle and do what they need to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, think about being a left back and having that run at you one-on-one. It's not the greatest proposition, to say the least. And the other thing is he's one of the best crossers in our team, I think, personally.
He does whip some fantastic balls in, and they're just so unlike so many regular crosses that are coming in.
Yeah.
It just offers something completely different. I remember last season, Jesse Lingard scored a great header against Chelsea from a fantastic Lukaku cross. But as well, I think you got to play your opponent, right? And Ryan Bertrand, he's a very quick fullback, but he's not the best tackler. And when you're running at him, he can shepherd you out or manage to get a ball out for a throw in. But when you're holding the ball up and making him come at you to tackle, it's maybe a bit more beneficial for us than just going straight at him. But I think like Ashley Young is one of the best overlapping wing backs there is. It just offers a whole new dimension.
Whole new dynamic to the team, doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously we were quite impressed with Lukaku, as we said, but it wasn't all smooth sailing for United. It was, as we said, we flew out of the traps. We had a great first 5 minutes, and then it got a bit tricky. I mean, Southampton have put some performances in, especially against Arsenal, that got rave reviews. And 26th minute, from long range, unbelievably, they took the lead. And what do you think? Is Dave at fault for that one? I mean, it's very, very rare to see him beating his near post from 30 yards.
I always find it hard to blame a goalkeeper getting beaten by a world-class goal, and that really was a 30-yard rocket into the top corner. I mean, he was beat at his near post, which he was furious about.
On his 350th appearance.
It seems like there's different milestones every week, to be honest with you, with De Gea. I think he was as furious as anyone getting beaten by that, but it's the kind of goal that you think to yourself, well, if he's going to get beaten, it might as well be something like that. It was a bit of a shame, but he's dug us out of so many holes over the years, mate. You sort of allow him to make a mistake here and there. I don't really think it was a mistake. If he had got to the ball, I just wish he'd got a better hand to it.
I know. I've watched it a number of times, and I still haven't made my mind up. The problem is that, as you said, De Gea's standards are so high. We're so used to him saving shots in the top corner. Now, it was an absolute rocket, and it did swerve away. I mean, Valeri is not renowned throughout the world for his long-range strikes. There's a bit of a surprise element to it too. But when Dave gets a hand to it, you do expect him to save it, don't you? But don't get me wrong, Scott, I'm not digging Dave out. You know I love Dave to the moon and back. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. I don't know whether another keeper even gets a hand to it, you see.
If anything, it was a wake-up call that we needed. Apart from what you're saying in the first 5-6 minutes where we had two chances, the rest of the half we were pretty bang average. It wasn't really a sloppy goal to concede. It was a world-class finish, and as I say, I have a tough time digging the goalkeepers out, any goalkeepers out when the strike is that good.
Yeah.
Because you think, well, who could save that?
Probably only De Gea on a good day. But yeah, you're right. We laboured through the half a little bit. Not for want of trying, but it wasn't. We had, Alexis was trying a few things, not with too much success. Lukaku moved out to the right for a bit on the 30th minute, so he had 15 minutes out there. We were trying things, but it wasn't really happening.
No, Sanchez had that one great little reverse pass in the first half to
Yes.
create a chance for Luke Shaw to cross, and then Rashford and Lukaku sort of got in the way of each other. But again, mate, he was found wanting a few
Yeah,
times. If
he was.
anything, his substitution was the catalyst for us to buck up our ideas, and I don't think it was a coincidence that we scored, I think, 90 seconds after he went off. But
Yes, it was.
again, I don't dig out our players unnecessarily. You just expect so much more.
Well, what I'd say is we did watch the match on the line together, and you were, when Sanchez went down, you were like, oh God, oh no, and I said, well, actually, it might be a good thing, because at the moment Sanchez is an option that of course you have to look at because he's of his history as a world class player, but he hasn't actually done it in a United shirt, and I must say I'm starting to think that I'm starting to feel the same as the whole Falcao situation, where you start off with blind faith. You know what Falcao's all about. You know what world class striker he is, and you're protecting him. You're defending him on his past performances. Sorry, and it's the same with Sanchez. If you look at not just his return in terms of goals and assists, but his overall play, it's a really low standard at the moment. It really is, and he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. I'm not sure we'll ever see him in a United shirt again.
That's a bold claim. The broadcast I was watching did show a little bit of the pitch at half-time and did show that Delot came out 5-10 minutes before everyone else and was doing some pretty intense warm-ups. And so when he did go down, I thought to myself, well, he probably knew his numbers was coming up and he almost wanted to sub himself off. But I do have to say that when we did buy him from Arsenal, they said, he's great against the Burnleys, against the West Hams, against the smaller team or the mid-table lower teams, but he goes missing in big games. And every match at United is a big game. And I think that when the expectation is on him, he is found wanting. And again, it's not for a lack of trying because he tries harder than a lot of people out there. Just one of those things, the harder he tries, the further away he gets from pulling anything off. And it's a real shame to see.
It is. But obviously he's out for a while now, and every cloud has a silver lining because his replacement, Diogo Dalot, I mean, what a performance, Scott. I mean, unbelievable. As you say, he came on the 52nd minute. And before we knew it, the whole dynamic of the team's changed. After he's come on, 7 minutes into his appearances, we've taken the lead. We've come back from 1-0 down to 2-1. Incredible display. He seems to have everything, Scott.
Well, it's a completely opposite end of the spectrum from Sanchez. He plays without fear. He goes out there and he just gives his all, and he's trying outside of the foot curlers into the top corner. And you have to say, Andreas Pereira, what a goal. I mean, absolutely world class. But it was set up by Diogo Dalot. But I think when he came on, we had to shift a bit in our formation. We sort of went to more of a 4-1-3-2 and had, instead of the 4-3-3, had Rashford and Lukaku up top and played Pereira in that number 10. Diogo went on the right. And it sort of did shift a little bit, the dynamic of our formation, what have you. And it was to the benefit, I think, that that Pereira found a huge pocket of space in between the defence and the midfield and managed to exploit it. And he's been wanting that goal for years. I remember his first goal, I think it was a cup tie against a lower team. He scored that free kick into the Stretford end. And his celebration, I never forget, he did that on 20-yard knee slide. I thought to myself, well, he loves playing for United, but that celebration on Saturday was very similar to mine. I'll be honest with you. I was screaming as loud as he was.
I know you were, Scott. And then obviously just sort of 6-7 minutes later, Lukaku stepped up, assisted by Andreas Pereira, and another really, really well taken goal. Made space for himself fantastically, and finished with his right.
And Pereira showed great balance to manage to stay on his feet and worm that ball through. But I think we do have to say beforehand that they said Ollie's team talk at half-time. He asked for more urgency to get the ball in the box, play more forward, and the Stretford M will suck the ball in for you. And just get the crowd involved. Don't fret on missed chances or missed opportunities here and there. Just keep going, and the crowd will do it for you. And you have to say that the crowd, especially in the second half, was as loud as the Liverpool game beforehand.
Yes, and that's a really good point. Solskjaer pointing the players towards these kind of things, because the thing is that Ollie's using everything, all the resources Manchester United have got. I know he was asked in the interview after they said, the great performance from the team. And he said, yeah, the team, the squad, the fans, the supporters, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because he sees it as one organism. He doesn't see it as the first team and then we've got to keep the fans happy. We're all one. And I feel that this is spreading throughout the club. I know I saw an interview with Eric Cantona, and he was saying it feels like I can feel the soul of the club again. I can feel it. They asked him for his man of the season, and he had only given one. He said, before Ollie arrived, doesn't exist to me. So I'll give you my man of the season from there, which is Paul Pogba. But yeah, Eric was there, and he was talking about how Ollie is one of Fergie's spiritual sons. And he made a lovely little comparison, actually, to Guardiola and Cruyff at Barcelona, and pointed to the fact that Cruyff obviously developed the Barcelona philosophy, and Guardiola was one of his players. And then Guardiola was handed the baton and took that on. Guardiola, don't forget, had no experience as a coach, so less than.
Well, I think he did manage the B team, the Barcelona B team.
He did.
Which
He
is a like in Spain that they do actually play in the professional. I think they were in the second or third league, not just in the reserves league.
Yeah, absolutely correct. But I thought it was quite a cute little comparison from Eric, and he was very, very happy to see Ollie at the wheel. I tell you that for nothing. Really, really happy.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? It's what we've been saying for years, that we just wanted someone to come in and steer this ship, not someone to come in and take the doors off and replace bits here and there, but just come in and play the Man United philosophy every week, right? And I never forget going to games, especially in the 98-99 season back in the day. We'd go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, and there would just never be a moment that you'd think we were going to lose this. The one game that springs to mind, obviously, the Champions League final, but Champions League semi-final at Juventus, 2-0 down after 11 minutes, and we're sitting there watching, and we're like, well, how are we going to dig ourselves out of this? This should be fun. Let's see how we're going to do this. Never once are you thinking, God, we're done for here.
And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it? It's like because you expect it, because you know it's a possibility, you go out and grab it. You actually you go for it. Whereas, at the end of some of the games under Mourinho, you see players. Actually, it's something I spotted in the match, and I've been spotting in recent weeks. When a player goes down, and he might get a knock, might get tripped up or whatever, one of our players, invariably they're bouncing straight back up again and tracking back. Whereas in the Mourinho, the last months of Mourinho, people would lying there, holding their leg, getting up and just sort of trotting back. And if you think of the effect on a team, on a team of 11 players, if you've got two of them at any one time who are not either tracking back or pressing at 100%, that spreads throughout the whole team. Whereas at the moment, we are hunting in packs. We're hunting as a team. There's no, I saw McTominay got bashed over and he was straight back up and running back. Even Pogba. I know Pogba has had a habit in the past of sort of doing that sort of half limp run when he's been bashed. But instead now...
And I was going to say, you hit the nail on the head there with... he was one that would throw his arms up and sort of throw a bit of a tantrum and walk back and not participate. And more often than not, something went even more astray when he was doing that. And all of a sudden, it's his fault that thing happened, which is crazy.
Exactly. So it's just a totally different feel throughout the team. It really is. And as you say, we fought back. We came back to 2-1. And then unbelievably, in the 75th minute, Southampton get a free kick quite far out too. And again, Dave's beaten from outside the box. His fault this time?
Yeah, I do have to say that, you said earlier we were watching the game together and you were having a chat and a laugh and you were saying something and I said, hang on a minute, mate, we've got to worry about this because Ward Prowse has been on a great run of form the last few weeks, just got an England recall and he is fantastic at dead ball situations and I couldn't believe it when it went in and then you look at the replay and you realise that the wall did him absolutely no favours. Only two people in a 5-man wall jumped. And it was another world-class strike, mate. And one of those that we're saying about Valeri's goal. If you're going to get beaten, make sure it's going to be in the top corner, something you can't see. But when it's a 30-yard free kick, you expect the best goalkeeper in the world to be able to at least get a hand on it. I was just I was pretty shocked that it did go in.
Yeah, I mean, what I'd say is with free kicks, I think you've always got to bear in mind because the ball's there. There could be impaired vision, and if you can't see the ball a little bit late, then it affects everything. What I would say about the wall though is that the United players have got to understand that people coming to Old Trafford, that's their moment. It's one of the greatest moments of their life playing against United, and they're going to be on top concentration. They're going to be giving their I mean, Ward Prowse, he said this is the kind of stage you want to do it in. All these years of practicing, it's for this, and our players have got to be aware of that.
It was funny. I don't know if you watched Match of the Day, but his interview after the game, he was smiling like a Cheshire cat, and he was saying, "This is
He was happy with his goal.
I must have practiced scoring at Old Trafford for 20 years before that." And they had just lost to a last minute goal, but it was probably one of the best moments of his career scoring that goal.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. He seemed pretty happy, didn't he?
I'll be honest with you, I don't really think it was a free kick.
No.
If anything, it certainly wasn't. I think he's moved it back a few feet to be able to get it up and over the wall. I think it was more 23, 24 yards out, which is obviously more difficult to get it up and over the wall under the bar. But our response to conceding that goal was exactly what you want to see. We just kept fighting, and it was just how are we going to get ourselves out of this situation kind of
Precisely. Thing. And Ole spun the wheel again, bringing on Fridge for Pereira in the 80th minute. And once again, I mean, it appears that Ole, not only a good substitute himself, he's actually very good at making substitutes as well, isn't he? Because he's making substitutes, adjusting people's positions. Because, 80th minute he comes on, 8 minutes later, and we scored the winner. And who's done the assist? It's Fred.
Correct. And I think he did bring Pereira off at that point because, although he had a good game up until then, he scored a goal, set one up. But maybe the 5-10 minutes before, he had lost the ball a couple of times needlessly. But when he brought him off, he gave him the biggest hug and kiss on the cheek, saying, I didn't bring you off because you were playing rubbish. I brought you off because we had to change things up. And he moved Pogba into the number 10. And I do like that appreciation for the player when he's bringing him off, because more often than not the players get ignored when they're coming off. Or you see, a few weeks ago, your boy Jurgen Klopp, he refused to even acknowledge Jordan Henderson, his captain, when he brought him off.
Yeah.
It was just petulant to see,
Yeah, absolutely. It just makes sense, doesn't it? Why not keep the players happy? Why not? He's had a blinder. Yeah, we did need to bring him off, and you just say, look, kid, yeah, you're doing fantastic. But Ole's doing that to everyone. You can see, look at Lukaku. Lukaku was out of the team. Ole's kept him up, kept his confidence up. And now when Ole needs him, 4 goals in 2 games. He's 1 of 6 points there. Just before the winner, a little bugbear from me on the 85th minute. We get a corner and we take it short and we pass it back and we pass it around the edge of the box, and then we lump a ball over and we lose the ball. To me, that's just really, really bad game management. You're at 2-2. You can stick a ball into the box. Your players are attacking it. It's a bit better than a 50-50 chance of getting a head on it. And then you pass it short and then sort of basically take up a position where you might as well have had the ball with the centre-backs and played forward rather than have a corner. So just a little bugbear.
Completely agree with you, especially because you look at our players and we've got 5 or 6 of them above 6'2", 6'3". We've got a massive team. And you look at Southampton's team and they've only got a couple of players over 6 foot, and it was a big advantage we had to just put these balls in. And if Luke Shaw's over there to take the corner, he's got to be good enough to stick it in the middle. But you're absolutely right. At that point, you've got to put one in straight in the middle, or even try and get the near post.
You do. And look, don't get me wrong. I love a bit of variety. I don't mind knocking a short corner to get a different angle and then whipping the ball in. Absolutely fine, no problems. But I can't sign off on us passing it basically back to the centre backs from a corner.
Yeah, and then hitting a 50-yard ball to try and hit Smalling at the back post to knock one back over.
If you talk about
it, didn't make any sense.
It's absolute insanity. But 3 minutes later, we weren't complaining at all. A 14-pass move started with that Pogba back header in his own half. 14 passes leading up to Lukaku's winner, set up by Fred, another one of Ole's subs. How good was that, Scott? I mean, we went absolutely wild, didn't we?
I'm so glad that you counted the passes. I was just shocked with how intricate our passing was. We went forward with purpose, positive intent. not just heaving long balls into the box.
Yeah.
And we just kept playing our way instead of getting desperate. And that's all you want to see. You want to just keep everything going as it is, because we believe in our bigger picture of our tactics and how we're going to play. And we shouldn't just revert to these 50-yard long balls when we get desperate.
I totally agree. It was an absolute joy to watch. Obviously a sensational finish from Romelu again. And like you said, he tore his shirt off and went absolutely wild in front of Stretford end.
Beautiful to see, exactly what I would have done.
And then towards the end there, Scott, we got a little talking point again. Paul Pogba, we obviously won a penalty in the 93rd minute. He steps up, same old run up. He's missed again now. I believe that's, 3 misses in 9, Scott?
Yeah, I was looking it up. I couldn't believe we'd actually got 9 penalties this year. He scored 6 of them, and I found a website that actually counted the amount of steps that he took. So the high was 28 steps for his run-up against Everton in October, which he missed. He only took 13 this time, but, I don't think I'm all for him doing outrageous things. I'm his biggest advocate. I think he is the best midfielder in the world, bar none. I just don't think that's a good tactic, mate. I don't think he's good enough as a penalty taker to be doing that kind of stuff. And in the same week that we're talking about him as possible captain material, there's a chance to put the game which we needed to win out of sight. He kept trying it. It's hard to say. I know his young son and his girlfriend were in the crowd for the first time that game. Maybe he was just trying to be himself as much as possible. I just wish he would have either given it to Lukaku to score his hat-trick or just stepped up and smashed it in the top corner like he should do.
Well, you know what I think about giving the penalty to Lukaku. I said to you at the time that after he's got 2 goals and he is on fire, I'd say don't give him the penalty because he's not the best at penalties, and he misses the penalty and then suddenly his confidence takes a dip. In terms of what you're saying about his technique, I've got a sort of very simple view on it. I mean, I watch Real Madrid quite a bit, and Sergio Ramos is the Panenka king these days. I would say probably 2 out of 3 of his penalties these days are Panenkas. Now, you might say, bloody hell, that's a dangerous tactic there. It is a dangerous tactic, but he scores pretty much every one. So, as far as I'm concerned, keep doing it. If you've got a bizarre tactic that's going to phase a keeper, then do it. I think Pogba's tactic in the first place, when it first came out, did phase the keeper. They didn't really know what to do. But when you know there's no way he can get to the ball in the next couple of seconds, you obviously wait, don't you? Because he's too far away from the ball. So those first, if you're doing 28, the first 20 steps, they're just a waste of time, aren't they?
Yeah, they're just winding everyone up, winding the keeper up and trying to put him off. But I think that this was actually one of the first penalties that he just went straight down the middle. And if you're going to, as you said, if you're going to go straight down the middle, you've got to go high instead of putting it at feet height, because no matter where the keeper dives, his feet can always stay in the middle.
Have you ever seen penalties saved when it's high down the middle?
Very rarely.
In professional football, Premier League, Champions League, it's extremely rare. I think I've seen once or twice a keeper's just stayed and it's been chipped into his hands, but it's very, very rare indeed.
Missed penalties only look crap when you haven't scored them, right? Like if he went up and stuck that straight down the middle, 5 inches from the keeper's feet, and it actually managed to squirm in, you'd think, oh, he's having a laugh now, and he's just getting better and better at these. It's only when he misses them do you actually sit here and say he shouldn't be taking them like this and that. But
of course, I guess it's the same thing as the haircuts, isn't it? If you're saying, look at me, if you're putting your hand up and saying, look, I'm different, look at me, then you've got to perform all the time because there will be more scrutiny on you. Same with Ramos. If he was missing penalties, I can guarantee you the Real Madrid take him off them or say you can't do Panenkas anymore. But he keeps on scoring them. So as a tactic, it does work. What I will say though is I did give his technique a whirl. I tested it out just to see what it felt like because it looks so bizarre. And I must say, the first couple you do, it's blooming amazing. You know, the first penalty I took top corner posted in, the second one side netting. It's only when you start thinking about it, it becomes a dodgy tactic. So maybe he brought it out for the World Cup, didn't he? He was practicing in the World Cup. I think everyone agrees it's time to change his technique, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you can miss a third of your penalties in the year and not change the tactic. And I think our best penalty take. Well, we've been blessed with a few really good penalty takers. Eric Cantona was outrageous. His run up was so slow that the goalkeeper would sort of give a motion of which way he was going to go, and he had the presence of mind and the ability to just stick it in the other corner. I think he only missed one, which was at Leeds, if I remember rightly.
He scored later in the game, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He made up for himself. But the other one was Ruud van Nistelrooy, who everyone knew where he was going to go. He would always go to the bottom left, but he would stick it so far in the corner with such power that the goalkeeper couldn't get to it, even when he knew where it was going to go.
And then want to side foot it the other way, wouldn't he?
Yeah, every so often. I just remember thinking, if you just concentrate on exactly where you want to go and stick it so far in the corner with enough power, the goalkeeper, even if he knows where you're going to go, he can't get it.
It's also what Shearer, as much as we despise him, was a very good penalty taker, and that's what he did too. Pick his spot and fire it. And as a striker from 12 yards, you really should be able to hit the spot, shouldn't you?
I completely agree with you. And I think that when you're taking a penalty, if you run up to the ball as fast as you can, you're only giving the goalkeeper a second or two to make his decision where he wants to go and where he's got to dive and what have you. And that's why they outlawed the old stutter step. But I think they're being a bit more lenient on that these days.
Yeah.
I just wish he could... he has the ability to just step up and stick it in the top corner effortlessly. And I don't think he needs to do these long-winded run-ups and stick it as close as the keeper he can possibly try. I don't think he's good enough at penalties, or he hasn't had the success at penalties to be able to start messing around like he does.
I agree. Quick question for you, Scott. Martial returns and is fit again. They're both on the field. Who are you giving the ball to for a penalty spot kick? Anthony or Paul?
Oh, mate, I'm going to go against what I've just completely said, but I would still give it to Paul Pogba.
Would you?
I think I would. I think he is the most talented player in his position in the world. I think he's the most talented player in a Manchester United shirt these days. And when the push comes to shove, I think he would stick it in the top corner. I remember at Brighton we were 3-1 down, and we needed him to score, and he stepped up and forget this run up. He started a couple of steps and then just sprinted forward and stuck it in the top corner. I still would give it to him. But yeah, great question.
I must say, Scott, you've talked me around. I was going to go Martial there. I do think he's a bit more like Eric as a penalty taker, actually, doesn't he? He waits, and Eden Hazard, he waits for the keeper and slides it the other way. But like you say, Pogba is our most talented player. I think we should be trying to fill him full of as much confidence as possible, fill him full of as much responsibility as possible, and push him up rather than pushing him down. And if it costs us a 93rd minute penalty when we still win 3-2 to keep him happy, I'm not saying let's pander to him. I'm just saying things are going so well. He seems so happy. Maybe you're right. Maybe last warning.
Yeah, I would say something like that.
I think last warning, and if that's too much pressure for you, you shouldn't be on the penalties. So amp the pressure up, last warning, and see how it goes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And then one of the moments of the match for me, very, very late on indeed, 95th minute, our boy Marcus Rashford leaves to a standing ovation, and someone I know you're very fond of indeed, Heath Chongi, comes on at Old Trafford for his debut. How do you like that?
Huge fan of it. I was advocating for him to come on a bit earlier and actually have an impact on the game beforehand. I was very happy to see it. He's going to be one of those players who just takes your breath away. Like, we've had some fantastic wingers in the past, and he has the ability. I've watched enough of reserve games and under-18 games to see his ability, and he's taken my breath away a few times already.
I don't want to put too much pressure on him or anything like that, but future number 7?
Oh, big shout. I mean, the number 44 did well for Adnan back in the day, Adnan Januzaj, and I hope he can be a good number 44 for the minute and maybe move down. I probably see him as a number 11 when they decide what number to give Martial next.
Well, he's got his curly locks and he's got the pace, hasn't he, for United number 11.
You know what? I just hope he doesn't get the flack that Fellaini used to get for looking a little bit outside of the box, because people used to give Fellaini, I mean, as you so eloquently put it years ago, he might look a bit of a jerk, but he gives his absolute 100% every time. I just hope that Heath doesn't get the same flack that Marouane Fellaini got for all those years, just because he didn't look as clean cut as everyone wanted him to.
I've got a feeling that he won't. I think the Fellaini thing, it was more to do with his attachment to David Moyes, wasn't it, than his haircut. I think that the hair and the shape of him was an easy stick to beat him with, but realistically the debacle and the pressure that Moyes put on him by the way he signed him never gave Fellaini a chance. But I would like to say, actually, thanks so much, Marouane Fellaini. He always gave his all for Manchester United. He came out with some really, really big goals for us. And you'd think, you go to a club like that, it's your dream. And then you've got people just slagging you off. And like you say, a lot just to do with his appearance.
First game in China, scored the winner.
It wasn't a good time for him.
Boston knew he would.
He did indeed, yeah. And it wasn't a header. So there you go. But what a game, Scott. 3-2 Manchester United. Another late show. 32 points from 36 under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. 5 more than any other team. We are by far the on-form team in the league. Where do we go from here?
Third, mate. I told you last week, third.
Yeah.
After the game, Solskjaer said of Lukaku, he's a quality goal scorer, smiles every day, does extra shooting practice and training, and he's got the goal scorer's quality. Coming from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and probably knows a thing or two about goal scoring, that's pretty high praise, if you ask me.
It is indeed. And do I need to ask you man of the match today, or are you going to give 2 again?
I'd give 14 if I could, mate. But to Heath didn't quite do enough. I'd have to say that it'd be Lukaku for me. If I could give 2, Pereira would get 1 too.
What about if you had 3? Would you give Delo 1 too?
Yeah, big time.
Superb. Yeah, I think you got to go with Lukaku. Pereira, absolutely amazing display, and I love those crosses he was whipping in as well. That was something part of his game that is negated when he's a bit deeper. When he's drifted out to the right there, it's like when Carrick played for Tottenham. He used to just pick up that position a lot more and whip in a hell of a lot of crosses. I never did it so much for United, but with these new formations, you can quite often have a lack of service from out wide. I know it's something that Ollie does like, to have balls coming in from wide. So maybe that's a way we can keep 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 or whatever, and still have an outlet on the right that can whip balls in.
Yeah.
So we're up to 4th spot again, Scott. Other results obviously went our way at the weekend. North London derby was a pretty insipid affair, actually. A 1-1 draw. Plenty of things going on at the end there. Did you watch that one, Scott?
I actually did, yeah. I was pretty happy with it.
I mean, to be honest with you, both teams looked scared. And maybe it's because we're used to watching this Manchester United team that's full of heart, full of energy, and just full of go out and get it. Whereas Arsenal and Spurs, they just seem to be waiting for something to happen. And not much did.
I'm still waiting to try and understand what goes on in Unai Emery's head, mate. I don't know how, for the biggest game of the season so far, you can drop Mesut Ozil and Aubameyang.
Yep.
It's times like that. I just remember Louis van Gaal and his crazy team selection and bringing off Matip and Nick Powell in Wolfsburg that day.
Oh dear, that was a bad one. That was a really bad one.
I think their best player on the pitch was Aaron Ramsey, and I think that they're going to be a much worse team without him. And it's another decision. I just can't understand how they can get rid of him.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Scott. I was going to say exactly the same thing. Ramsey off to Juventus, and he looked sharp, took his goal fantastically well. Obviously, Harry Kane on the sheet again from the penalty spot, and then at the end there, Arsenal, last minute they get a penalty. Aubameyang starts up with a straight run up. I must say, I thought he was going to miss, Scott, and sure enough, he did. And not content with that, he then went and missed an open goal very, very casually. I mean, a split second later. Unbelievable stuff.
I can't figure out if it was one of the best tackles I've ever seen or one of the worst misses I've ever seen with that chance.
Well, my point of view there, Scott, is there's a way that you can definitely score there, and it's not doing a flick with the outside of your foot. You go through it hard, you blast, you put everything through it. I know I mentioned to you after the game that someone like Mark Hughes would have just put everything through there, and the defender's no chance. The defender's never getting back and around you, whereas Aubameyang was trying to sort of flick it in. It's all very well if it works, like we said with the Pogba penalty earlier, but you just missed a penalty in the last minute of your biggest derby, and then you missed an open goal straight after it. Really, really bad stuff from Aubameyang, I must say.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a few weeks ago we were calling Aubameyang the Gabonese Jamie Vardy, and I think Jamie Vardy would have put that in.
And then, but obviously we're not complaining because the shared spoils there means Manchester United leapfrog Arsenal back into fourth spot. Not content with that, we're only 3 points behind Spurs now.
I told you last week we're gonna be catching them, and I think the most important thing, given we go to the Emirates next week, is Lucas Torreira, who's probably their best holding midfielder. He got sent off in the last minute and suspended for the game, so I think that's a big loss for them and a big gain for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Chelsea took the points at Fulham. They're still not out of it. They're just tucked in there in sixth spot. They do have a game in hand as well. Technically,
they go ahead of us if they win it, right?
That is correct, yes. So they're not out of it at all, but it's in our hands in terms of we know that Chelsea, Tottenham and Arsenal can drop points until the end of the season. So it's up to us to continue our fall, and we'll do it, no problems.
I love your positivity, you always have.
Thank you. And of course, there was another match of interest to us Reds at the weekend. Maybe not direct, because probably a little bit too far behind to have a say in the title race now. But Liverpool obviously travelled across the city to their darkest rivals, apart from us, Everton. And sure enough, Everton have done everyone a massive favour by heading to a 0-0 draw. A really poor performance from Liverpool, Scott.
Yeah, I managed to watch a little bit on my phone when I was setting up work. One thing I wanted to see was whether Firmino played. I really think without him, they have a very hard time creating any chances. I think we do have to say before we move on that we do host Chelsea in late April, and if they manage to go ahead of us, it's in our own hands to peg them back.
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
And obviously, in the Everton-Liverpool game, Salah was the one who had the chances in there. Again, he was found wanting, wasn't he?
Well, he was saying a few weeks ago that he's starting to feel the pressure, and when a striker starts saying they're starting to feel the pressure, it's really not a good thing, right?
It's not at all.
Even Romelu Lukaku, when he's getting all the flack he does and all the pressure that's on him, he just says he doesn't feel any of it, and he just carries on, plays his own game, and it's music to everyone's ears.
And there was another gentleman at the end there feeling the pressure in Liverpool colours. Jurgen Klopp was taking his walk off the pitch, and one of the Everton ball boys, I'm not sure if you saw it, decided to just give him a friendly clap, a round of applause for the performance. And Klopp wasn't happy at all. He actually offered him the back of his hand. Did you see that?
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah.
The second I saw that, I thought, well, it's going to be his fault, isn't it, this week?
Yeah.
Drop point's going to be the ball boy's fault.
He's
going to find a way to dig him out.
He's got some creative excuses, doesn't he, Klopp?
I can't wait to see what the next one is. He's used them all. There's snow, wind, rain, opposition injuries, everything. It's I will be honest. Before he moved to the Premier League, I did think he was a good manager, and now it's just embarrassing what excuses he comes up with this time. And
you can't go around starting on kids, Scott.
No, you don't win anything when you start on kids, isn't that?
It went something like that. I'm pretty sure it went something like that. But overall, Scott, I mean, we couldn't really, apart from Chelsea losing, of course. Did you see that Sessegnon had a last-minute winner? Equaliser disallowed, which would have really helped. It would have kept Chelsea on 54 points and kept that distance between us. I don't think we need to worry about Chelsea too much, but Arsenal, Tottenham obviously dropping points. Liverpool dropping points too. City 1-0 away to Bournemouth. So
is there any correlation with Brendan Rodgers' return to the Premier League with Liverpool losing top spot?
I don't know. There's
anything we can see
There's
there?
definitely a correlation between his return and Leicester putting in an awful display. That was pretty cool.
They showed a lot of character, Tom. They showed a lot of character. Don't forget.
Superb. So sitting pretty after the weekend, but that's not where it ends for us United fans. Obviously, there is a massive, massive week coming up for us. Just 2 days to go until our Champions League last 16 tie in Paris. We travel without Paul Pogba, and not just without Paul Pogba, we travel without many, many of our squad.
Yeah, no Pogba, Sanchez, Herrera, Lingard, Matic, Martial potentially, Mata, Jones and Valencia.
And yet we travel with hope, and yet we travel with full belief that somehow we can pull this out of the hat.
Well, yeah, I remember last April we were 2-0 down at half-time to City, and we came back to win that 3-2, and we only had 45 minutes to do that. So I never look at a United team as dead and buried. So I'm optimistic. I think that we're going to go in, and all I want is us to go and put in a good display for ourselves. I think that we were maybe a bit overwhelmed, overawed by the first leg. I just want us to look like we belong at that stage again, TC.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would rather go in there full of confidence, praying for a miracle and get my heart broken and regroup and go for the end of the season. We've still got plenty to play for. Still got the FA Cup, we've still got the Premier League. But I tell you what, Scott, I would love us to pull something out over there. Paris is not the biggest cauldron you've ever been to. What I'd say is if we can get an early goal, it might not be all plain sailing for PSG. I know you've had a look at them. How are they looking coming into this?
Well, yeah, I managed to watch the game on the weekend, and they rested 8 players, which I think they're going to play. They rested Buffon, Silva, Verratti, Kimpembe, Draxler. They played 18th place Cayenne away, went 1-0 down to a set piece, conceded from another set piece. I've watched a few of the goals they've conceded the last few months, and they've mostly been from set pieces, which is a really positive sign. I think we can just go and nick a goal from a corner and put them on their back feet, and I think that's going to be the way to do it.
Yeah.
I think Andreas Pereira is going to be on corner and free kick duties potentially, and he's going to whip some wonderful balls in like he did on the weekend. And I see that as being a potential weakness for them and something that we can hopefully take advantage of. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great point, Scott. Because obviously the English league, we are a bit tougher. There's a lot more contact in the box. And if we can put some pressure on from set pieces, that's not the kind of pressure that a team in the Champions League wants. It's almost like when your Stoke comes up against your Man City or whatever, and they start pumping balls in, and City aren't used to dealing with it. So it might be a tactic we can catch them unawares with. But also we're playing great football at the moment, so I wouldn't say we're just limited to set pieces. But without Pogba and obviously many others through injury, it is looking like an uphill task.
Yeah, or an opportunity for these fringe players to really endear themselves to us. And Fred had a good 10-15 minutes when he came on the weekend. He's probably going to start. Pereira was great. Lukaku's in great form.
Yeah.
Rashford's obviously. And if you think 3 years ago, a lot of injuries bred the opportunity for Marcus Rashford to come in and score twice. And you never know. I mean, I'm pretty sure Chong and Angel Gomez will be on the bench. Maybe get a bit more action on Wednesday, and maybe this is their stage to show what they're all about.
Yeah, you just never know, do you? I mean, what a night that was when Rashford burst into the scene. He was on the bench to begin with, and then Martial picked up a knock, didn't he? And he suddenly was starting. And you just never know. But what I will say, you did just mention Romelu Lukaku there, obviously with great form. He might be a player that they're not used to playing against, the kind of style of player they're not used to playing against as well. He's a very unique player. He's a massive beast. And he might just be the person to sort of really get into the PSG defence there.
Correct, and I think that Saturday's never say die attitude and coming from behind to win, and it was a perfect preview for Wednesday's game, and just more of the same. Let's just carry on with this positive attitude that we've instilled to the Reds these days, and get the ball in the box, play more forward, as Ollie was saying at half time, and things will happen for us.
Yeah, well, Ollie did say, didn't he? He said the dressing room's bouncing in there, and they're all really looking forward to Wednesday. So, to me, that says that confidence, we're carrying it forward, and we're full of belief now, aren't we? And like I say, look, it's an uphill struggle. I know that, but I'm backing the boys to pull it off.
We never do things easily, do we?
No, we don't.
This could just be another chapter in our illustrious history, and another night that we can just look back and be immensely proud of our players and our boys. But listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't need us to win to be proud of them. I think the last few months we've turned around a massive deficit, and we've come, I think, 13 points. We were behind fourth place when Ollie came in, and I'm immensely proud of our Reds anyway, regardless of the result on Wednesday.
Yeah, me too, Scott. And are you? What's your predicted lineup for Wednesday? Obviously, David De Gea in goal.
Yeah, I don't think you can drop him off after Saturday's appearance. I would actually go same back four. I'd go Young, Smalling, Lindelof, Luke Shaw.
Yeah.
You've got to say McTominay is going to play the holding midfielder again, probably Fred and Pereira in with him.
Yeah.
I've been reading that he wants to play Pereira in more of the Pogba role, a little bit more advanced.
Sure.
Which he did when Sanchez came off on Saturday. I think you're going to have to put Delo in there as well.
Yeah.
His crossing's outrageous, and if that's where we want to try and penetrate, I think he's going to be instrumental on the right side of that midfield.
You would go Delo, Rashford, Lukaku then?
Yeah.
I could sign off on that team right now, to be honest with you. With the injuries we've got, I think having Delo in there adds an extra body into that midfield when we need it. But he's so dynamic. He looks like an out-and-out right winger when he's on the right wing. And then he looks like a right back when he's in the right back position. I absolutely love the kid.
Which is great because Ashley Young really loves the license to roam forward. And as a natural right back, if you wanted to call Diogo Delo that, he manages to track back and fill in the position a bit better and a bit better than other right wingers. He's got good defensive instincts. And I think the last thing we need to do is concede another goal. So I'd like to see us building from the back and defending well and turning that into good attacking play. And I mean, I'm amazed by his fearlessness, Tom. He's just, every time he gets it, he just wants to go forward and create something.
Yeah, he's a superstar in the making. He really is. I love his attitude. He loves the club as well, doesn't he? He's taken to us. Big things expected. And what's your prediction? Score prediction for Wednesday night, Scott?
I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1 PSG? 3-1
No, don't be silly. I think we're going to win 3-1. I think we'll nick an early goal, get something around maybe just before half-time or just after half-time. I feel it in my heart we're going to do something. Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1, Tom.
I must say I was thinking 3-1 too. I'm going to go for 2-0. 2-0 Manchester United, and
2-0, all right.
And we get an extra 30 minutes out of it.
All right, and when you think about that, who does get the advantage of playing in the second leg? Do you reckon we get the advantage, given there's 30 extra minutes to score an away goal, or do you reckon they get the advantage from playing at home?
I would say we get the advantage.
All right.
I would say in that situation, I think maybe back in the 50s and 60s where you had to get on a boat and travel for days to an away match, I think they would have the advantage. But if you think about you score one goal, they've got to score two in extra time. I take that every day of the week.
Right.
Especially in a place like Paris. I mean, the Parc des Princes is not one of the football cathedrals of the world. It's a lovely ground, more a rugby ground than a football ground. But it holds no fear for me. PSG, they're not a massive historic club with a massive historic fan base that is anything to fear. Yes, they've got great players. Yes, they've put together a team with their billions. But we're Manchester United, Scott, and we should go there with absolute full belief that we're gonna advance to the next round.
Completely agree.
Superb. Well, can't wait for Wednesday, and I'm sure you guys can't either. Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe to 100% United on iTunes and follow our Instagram account at United100 Podcast for all the latest news and upcoming shows. Stay positive and believe, Reds. You never know what's in store in Paris. Good luck to Ollie and the boys. We're going to jump on the podcast straight after the game on Wednesday. Tune in and join us for the ride. It's bye from me. Cheerio, Scott.
Ta-da, TC.
See you on Wednesday, Reds. Good luck, boys.